We are back for another video today talking about the Colts quarterback situation, specifically Anthony Richardson, although we will talk about Daniel Jones, who was just recently named the starter for the Colts going into week 1 for the 2025 NFL season. And yeah, I just want to get my thoughts out on this. I haven't done a prediction video yet for the AFC South, but we will be doing that. So I'll also talk more in that video about this whole quarterback debacle there in Indianapolis. But yeah, let's get right into it. Now, for those of you that have watched my channel for the past couple years, you'll probably remember that I was pretty high on Richardson, despite him being a very raw prospect. I mean, he is one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in the NFL overall, especially in the past 20 years. And you could probably make an argument for all time. I mean, his size, his strength, his arm strength, his speed. I mean, he has so many amazing traits, but he's just never been able to put it all together. And so despite all that, obviously the Colts take him 4th overall in the 2023 NFL Draft, which is obviously very exciting, but things have not really gone to plan. So obviously in his first season, he only played 4 games where he had 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. I thought he honestly looked fairly promising in that very small sample size. He also had 136 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns in that span. So to make it sound as best as possible for him, we'll say 7 total touchdowns to 1 interception, which is very solid in your first 4 games in the NFL. Now, with that said, it was still a big thing to watch going into 2024 because it was obviously his second year, hoping he'd come back healthy from that shoulder issue and the concussion I believe he also had around then as well. And so now we have the 2024 season, 11 games played, and it's pretty rough. I'm not going to lie, 1,814 passing yards, 8 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. You could also make an argument 14 total touchdowns because he did have the 6 rushing. But regardless, no matter how you shake it, the accuracy is a huge issue. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Richardson's been dealt a terrible hand and, oh, it's just bad luck or, oh, they're doing him dirty, at least up until this point. But I think at the end of the day, when you draft someone this young and this raw of a prospect, you have to assume there's going to be things like this to come from it. I mean, Richardson wasn't a polished quarterback in college, so what made you think he was going to be a polished quarterback day one in the NFL? You would think the Colts taking him 4th overall was understanding his upside and having confidence in their coaching staff, especially Shane Steichen, who was in Philadelphia. He helped Hurts kind of come up into being the player he is now. So I think that was kind of the vision. It was, okay, we understand he's very raw, but we also understand the upside here is unbelievable. We trust our coaching staff. We're in it for the long run. We're going to help him develop. But it hasn't really been fair really for either side. For one, for the Colts, Richardson has not stayed on the field. I mean, 15 games played in 2 years is horrible. And it's also not fair to himself because he's not able to get better because he's not able to get more reps. I mean, the best ability is availability, and he has not been available at all in his NFL career. And so when you look at the way things have kind of shaken out in his career so far, a lot of that is due to his health. And it sucks. It is just an unfortunate part of sports, especially football. And so that's where it takes us to, obviously, today. You bring in Daniel Jones this past offseason, bit of a quarterback battle between him and Richardson this past offseason, and now you name Jones as the starter. Now, obviously, I did a little brief recap over the past couple of years for Richardson, and there's truly not a lot to write home about. However, I still really disagree with starting Daniel Jones week 1. And as I just said a moment ago, I said that when you draft him 4th overall, understanding, well, at least we are assuming if you are drafting him that high, you understand how raw of a prospect he is, and you're essentially saying we trust in his ability to develop, we trust in our coaching staff, we understand the upside, we're taking him 4th overall. However, now when you bring in Daniel Jones and when you name him the starter, it begs the question for me, is this just a coach trying to stay off the hot seat? Is this just okay, I can run in a Gardner Minshew type offense with Daniel Jones in there, except now I have some more rushing upside. Maybe we can get some wins to stack up for us. It's not really saying, okay, this is supposed to be our franchise guy. We're starting Richardson. We know the player he can be. We're hoping he can get there. You're not even really giving him that shot. And I guess you could argue maybe he doesn't deserve it based off of his play or his poor health recently. But my counterpoint to that would be, this poor play you would have had to assume was going to be a byproduct of him getting better in the NFL. Because if that wasn't your mindset, and if you were just really thinking this quarterback, as raw as Richardson, as young as he is, if you were seriously thinking he was going to step into the NFL and light it up and be polished day one, then that's not fair to him because that's not the prospect he was. And you would think that would have been a huge focus when drafting him, especially that high, was just how underdeveloped a lot of his traits are. But then when you make this Daniel Jones move and you name him the starter, it's almost giving up on that in a way where, okay, if he was a third or fourth round pick, why not? You know what I mean? But like, if you take him fourth overall, you've given him 2 years. I mean, really, not even a full season in those 2 years. And now you're just going to go with Daniel Jones. I don't understand that. However, if you were to say Daniel Jones is still relatively young, we believe we can have this type of offense with him in there, we want to see what he can do, I could maybe buy that, except that what has Daniel Jones shown other than one season that he can take this offense to a level that Richardson could potentially take it to if he was healthy? Because to me, it's like you're taking the quarterback with, yeah, the higher floor by, I guess, a small margin, but not even close to the same ceiling. And even when asked, their head coach, Shane Steichen, mentioned how great of a year 2022 was for Daniel Jones. But that was 3 years ago. I mean, are we really going to say, oh, he had a good year 3 years ago, so that's worth it to bench our fourth overall draft pick with top 10 to 15 quarterback potential in the NFL? That 1 year of Daniel Jones being good is worth it to put Richardson aside and to start Daniel Jones. That makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. Daniel Jones in 2022, when the Giants made the playoffs and they won that one game against the Vikings, in the regular season, Daniel Jones threw for 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, with also like 7 more rushing touchdowns to go along with it. It was a solid year. It was a very, very solid year. But when you say, oh, he had a good year in 2022, I mean, it wasn't a 40 touchdown year in 2022. It was a 15 touchdown, 5 interception, good ground game year of him taking a step. I feel like when you say, oh, he had a good year in 2022, I mean, it wasn't some MVP caliber season. I mean, yeah, he had some great football, decent passing yards, but I mean, 15 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. In 2022, you know who had 13 touchdowns to 6 interceptions? Ryan Tannehill. You want to tell me what team Ryan Tannehill is starting on in 2025 this year? That's an extreme example, and it's not quite fair to Daniel Jones. I'm exaggerating that example, to be perfectly honest, because Tannehill did not have as good of a year passing, especially yards-wise. But you get the point I'm trying to make, that just because a player showed that he can be a good football player 3 years ago, is that really worth throwing away the potential that Anthony Richardson has to throw Jones in there as a starter? That is what does not make any sense to me. And also, when you factor in what's happened since 2022, Daniel Jones has had a neck injury. He's torn his ACL. I mean, this hasn't been like since 2022, he's just kind of regressed slightly. No, he's missed a lot of games. He's played very bad football, and he's struggled to stay on the field, which, that kind of sounds familiar in a way. It sounds like Anthony Richardson, who has struggled to stay healthy, struggled to be accurate. So why are we all of a sudden jumping ship to the other quarterback who has shown to be hurt recently and widely inconsistent? It doesn't make any sense to me because they've struggled in similar ways, except one is way younger with way higher upside, and you used your 4th overall pick on him. You shouldn't want to have another chance to pick in the top 5. You should want to win games. That was the goal. And when you look at like the rest of this offense, right? Like Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell. You just drafted Tyler Warren. Like, this is a really, really good offense. There's no reason to just all of a sudden pivot from your original plan. Because in my mind, if you're going to be bad this year, if you're going to be terrible, lose 13 games, I would rather lose those 13 games with Anthony Richardson than with Daniel Jones. Because at least then you're saying we did everything we could. We trusted him. We picked him 4th overall. We've done our best to put him in a position to succeed, given him enough reps. If it fails, it fails. Not every quarterback pans out in the NFL. That's just the reality of it. But to pick someone that high and then not give them more chances when you should have expected struggles from a prospect that raw, that is where it loses me. And that's why I cannot at all get behind what the Colts have done here, because it seems so ridiculous to me. If you think you're going to be that bad, then be that bad with Richardson, at least to start. If it's really, truly ugly and there's just no saving it, okay, then pull the plug, throw in Daniel Jones, why not? But why all of a sudden now we're going to put in Daniel Jones, have Richardson sit, which for the record, I'm not anticipating Jones being very good this year. So I'd imagine we'll see Richardson at some point this season. So now we're going to say, okay, Daniel Jones is good for, no, sorry, not good. Let's say he's mediocre for the first 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden the next 4 weeks, he's pretty bad. You bench him and you put in Richardson at week 11. Well, what if he has a very good end of the season? Guess what? All of a sudden, you have a small sample size of Richardson being good, and you're right back in the same position you were just in for the past 2 years of having flashes of what he can be, but not a full season. That's why I don't get it. Give him a full season. If the injuries continue, if the accuracy struggles continue, that's when you pivot. Why pivot before the season starts? I don't understand it. These stats are bad, but they are not bad enough to throw away the potential that he has and the value you put into him, taking him 4th overall. That is why I don't get it. And this whole Colts thing, it truly does just blow my mind. So make sure to let me know down below what you guys think. Was this the right move to sit Richardson and start Daniel Jones? Because I don't get it. I am hoping we'll see Richardson pretty early on this season and not later on. The Colts are going to be back in a hole if that's the way it goes. And it's a disservice to the rest of this offense. You've built up a very, very talented offense, and now you're just going to panic because of raw quarterback struggles, which you should have seen coming, but maybe you didn't. I don't know. But regardless, let me know down below what you guys think. If you enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. I will have my video on the AFC South out very soon. We'll be going over every single team, giving them a record prediction, talking about their offense, their defense, all that kind of stuff. So if you like football, if you like the NFL, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. We are like 280 subscribers away from 1,000, so that's kind of cool. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.